Auteur theory. The definition of an auteur was first presented in the 1940s. It was developed more by numerous directors such as Francis Truffaut, one of the founders of the New French Wave. Auteur is described as a director that brings the film to life and uses the film to express their thoughts and feelings about the matter. An auteur can use lighting, camera, staging, and editing to fuel their vision. In other words, each film that the director makes is similar in the sense of a style it's filmed in. For instance, Quentin Tarantino uses yellow lights in his movies quite often, whilst Edgar Wright has some quite quick jumps. In the 1960s, some film critics began criticizing Auteur's theory's focus on the authorial role of the director. One reason for the backlash is the collaborative aspect of shooting a film, as well as the theory's privileging of the role of the director. For instance, film historian George Sadoul pointed out that the main author of a film is not necessarily the director, but can be the main actor, the screenwriter, producer, or even the author of the original story. On the other side, there are points saying that no matter what inputs others make, the only thing that matters is what the director wants, as it's their vision. Mise-en-scène. Mise-en-scène is the arrangement of scenery and props on the set of a film or on the stage of theatrical production. The key aspects of the mise-en-scène are set design, light-up, makeup, acting, costume, and the actual show itself. All these features add to the frame and keep the audience intrigued in the film. The set design creates the atmosphere and the general feel for the scene it's in. Lighting can also help set the mood. A darker lit room will tell the audience that it's a more sad, deep, or that something evil will happen, whilst a more well-lit room will do the opposite and connote joy and happiness. Makeup can make the antagonist and the protagonist stand out. Often in film, the antagonist is pale with eyeshadow to almost resemble vampires, as they are very pale. Though in more recent films, the antagonist has been made so they're more relatable, instead of before when they were massive gun-toting badasses that the hero has to overcome. For instance, in Star Wars The Force Awakens, they introduce a new villain, Kylo Ren, an apprentice of the dark side. They try to make him relatable by having his parents as Leia and Han Solo, so he's always at war with himself because he's fighting with his dark side and his own light side, showing he's as human as everyone else. Looking at this frame from Lord of the Rings, in the shot the focus is on the protagonist, Frodo. This is so the audience can see the envy in his eyes and pulls the audience attention from the ring. The reason for this is because the whole concept of the ring is that whoever looks at it or holds it gets corrupted by it slowly. So having the focus away from the ring reinforces that. Having the frame focus on Frodo makes the audience realize how hard it was for Frodo to carry the ring. For Frodo's makeup, you can see that Frodo is cut, bruised, and muddy. This helps emphasize what he's been through. His lips are dried to show the lack of water he's had. Everything about how he looks adds into him going through torment. His messed up hair, his red eyes, the mud, and the cuts that he has on him. Looking at the colour used, in films, yellow is usually represented as hope or happiness, but in this shot, it's clearly the opposite. In this specific scene, Frodo's about to throw the ring into Mount Doom, but there's no joy in it. Even though this will rid the bad from Middle-earth, there's no joy in what he's doing, because the ring has slowly been corrupting him. And you can see that from the look on his face. For his costume, even though you can't see much of it, from this shot you can see that it's tattered and torn, again adding to Frodo's journey and the hardships of it. Without the actor's portrayal, it wouldn't have the emotional impact that this scene does, and this just adds to the mise-en-scène. Narrative structure. When describing the story, you need to ask, where is the story set? What events start the story? Who are the main characters? What conflicts do they face? Plus what's at stake? What happens as they face these conflicts? What is the outcome of this conflict? And what is the ultimate impact of the characters? What events start this story? Protagonist Mark Renton gets opium suppositories from his dealer to help him quit. This leads him to going through withdrawal, having sex with an underage girl, and start using heroin again. What are the main characters? Mark Renton, the protagonist/narrator. Spud, a slow-witted but kind-hearted heroin addict, also a friend of Renton. Sick Boy, an immoral con artist and heroin addict, another friend of Renton. Begbie, a violent psychopathic friend of Renton. Tommy, a clean-cut athlete who succumbs to heroin. And Diane, a 15-year-old girl who blackmails Renton into dating her. What conflicts do they face? What's at stake? Each of the characters face their own conflicts. Renton goes through withdrawal, getting arrested, managing his psychotic best friend. Spud gets put in prison and deals with the death of Tommy. Sick Boy deals with the death of his baby daughter, and Tommy deals with his newfound heroin addiction. The main four characters have to worry for their lives once they get involved in a drug deal. What happens to these characters as they face these conflicts? Spud is left in prison as he gets thrown in jail alongside Renton. Renton gets over heroin for a while and is sent to a drug intervention program which doesn't help. What is the ultimate impact of these characters? Renton ends up betraying the group and leaves with the money they got. Spud is left with £4,000 from Renton. Sick Boy is left nothing, betrayed by Renton. Begbie ends up throwing a fit of rage when finding out that Renton had betrayed them. Sick Boy mourns for the loss of his daughter, and Tommy dies from an overdose.